Welcome to AsArt.space.
Hold on to your butts.
Welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. Today we're going to talk about Short Circuit. It's a cool little animated series, kind of like Love, Death, and Robots that we saw on Netflix.
Now, before we get going, wasn't Short Circuit a cheesy 80s Disney movie?
Yes.
No, that was Flight of the Navigator.
When I
I'm getting things completely mixed. There's Flight of the Navigator. What was Short Circuit? It was a robot, right?
It's a robot, yes. Okay. It kind of looked like Wall-E, I think.
It did look like Wall-E.
Yeah, right? Okay.
As soon as you said, we're going to talk about Short Circuit, I'm like, sir, let's please really mention which one we're talking about.
The one on Disney Plus. Dang it, it's probably on Disney Plus. No.
It's Friday Disney Plus. Yeah, right.
So Short Circuit's a collection of short animated short films, I guess.
And we're talking short. How short are we talking?
Maybe 2 minutes max.
2
max.
minutes, yeah.
But it's interesting because they went with stories and ideas with the Disney animation artists. So they let them come up with the concepts, and they do short films all the time at animated studios, so they can work on special little effects and techniques and stuff like that they can test out on a small scale before they bring it in big scale. Like Pixar's known for doing this, how you can watch the short animated feature films. Most of the time those shorts are getting ready for the next film, like they're testing out something new they're going to use and stuff like that. So
yeah, if you guys check out the Pixar ones, are probably the most famous, but Industrial Light and Magic would every now and then do those. Sometimes they were just done internally, but sometimes they'd be released. And then also Blur Studios is a big visual effects studio. The guy that directed the first Deadpool, I forgot his name, I should know his name, but he was like kind of the head of that studio, and they would always put out some really fun animated shorts. And so a lot of visual effects studio will do that just to, hey, this is our skill set, but also like, okay, let's develop some technology. And you know what, especially with visual effects studio like Blur Studios, when you're just doing everybody else's projects all the time, it's nice to say, okay, let's do something of our own and do our own story and things like that. And probably out of that is actually how he got that director role for Deadpool, is that, okay, he can manage a story and manage a team. That probably mentioned that. So anyway, so back to the animators at Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's really cool. When I was at DreamWorks, I remember there was like a book that came out. I think it was called After Dark. And it was a book of different artists at DreamWorks, like a collection of their artwork. And it was just super cool that like the studio produced this book and stuff for the artists and put all their names in it and stuff. And I think it's cool that Disney's doing this. It's probably a business motive overall, but I'm glad because as an artist, it's so cool if they were like, everyone can pitch an idea. I have no idea if this is how this is how it went down, but like everyone got an email saying this is a plan. Do your own idea, pitch it, and then I think that's so cool. It's just so cool.
Yeah, I'm curious. So again, it's really frustrating if you're an animator, a visual effects artist, whatever it might be. It can be frustrating. It's not always frustrating, but you spend 10 years, 20 years, whatever your career is, and you're usually doing something that a director dictates, or you might not even ever meet the person who wrote it and is directing it. You might just be told, this is your job, do it to the T. You don't really have creative freedom. So if they did go to them and say, hey, we're up for getting ideas pitched, or maybe if they just said, here's the story ideas, you can animate it to whatever style you want. Even that's a big creative freedom. Now, when you said you were kind of comparing it to Love, Death, Robots on Netflix, which is really great. Those are kind of a longer format, right? Those are like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, right? Around there.
There was like a couple, like the one with Hitler was probably like 3 minutes. And then you've had a couple that were like
I still
40.
need to go back and watch more.
Oh, you haven't watched them all?
No, I forgot. We've been so caught up with all these other ones. I haven't ever finished. I need to. My memory's bad, man. I'm old now. But when you were telling me about this, about Short Circuit, that was reminding me of on HBO Go. They have this series called Phantasmagories, I think it is. And I think it's Latin folklore and really cool art style. They always start off the story with this guy smoking a cigarette. He's like, and they're actually in Spanish, which is cool. So you have to watch it with subtitles, which is kind of cool. But they're telling these stories about just, this folklore from that region. But they're literally only like 2 minutes long. And the animation style is great. They're different styles. I loved it. But 2 minutes just wasn't enough for me. Right there, as they were getting going, I was just like, it was over. It's like I wanted to get invested in it, but they were just kind of teasing you. And I think they're doing another series of those.
Well, you're not going to like this Disney. these
Well, it doesn't mean
shorts,
I won't like them. I just
way.
wish I could see more.
It's the same way. I already watched all of them, and it's
Uh-huh.
the same way where they just like barely introduce an idea, and it's just like short story, short story, short story. Where at least with love, sex, and robots, right? Yeah,
Love,
yeah.
Death, Robots.
Love,
Nick
death,
always
robots.
throws sex in there. I don't know. Nick is just, man, pervy, perv.
But I just feel like with the stories there, you really were able to get into the story and the
Yeah.
characters and stuff, or at least enough where there's an arc.
There's a
Like
full arc. Yeah, I was going to say.
there's
Yeah.
one for example called like Puddles, where a kid's like jumping into puddles, and his sister's on her phone, not paying attention, and he's literally like jumping through and disappearing from the puddles and popping up out of another puddle. He's like, hey, and she's like, just doing her thing, and then finally he like grabs her, and she goes through, and there's like a whole other world inside. You're like, oh cool, and then it's like done. You're like, oh my gosh, just give me a little bit more. Like,
Now, this is the Netflix series or this is Disney Plus?
this is Disney Plus.
So do you think possibly, and I'm not saying this is the case, do you think, because obviously they have all kinds of analytics, do you think if any of those episodes is super well received, they might take that short story and make a
No.
longer thing out of it? Or do you think they're
No,
just
I don't
one-off
think so. I
things?
think they're just all one-off. It's cool though, because like before you even watch it, they do like a 2-minute like making of, where they interview.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
They interview the artist, and they show some of the behind the scenes stuff, which is really cool. Yeah, no,
Oh, that's really
it's
cool.
totally worth it. I would totally watch it if you love short films and creative artists and just tons of different ideas. By watching it, Disney's going to see that people were interested in it, and hopefully they'll
Yeah,
make more
yeah.
in the future, which is never a bad thing for us as
And you were
consumers.
saying you felt like it was kind of a business move. I just feel like it might be not a business move, but they have this new streaming platform. The Mandalorian season 1 is over. It's going to be filming soon, or is it already filming? I can't remember.
It's already filming, right? Because they were already like
Yeah,
a step
so
ahead compared to The Witcher.
That's coming probably soon, but they obviously, and then there's so much content on there already, but they want new content. That's a great way to get new content and get a lot of variety. And it's just, for us, I think it's especially hits home because the artists are given some creative freedoms to really create things. So that's really,
Yeah.
really cool. Some of them maybe have never had that opportunity since
that's
they were
the
in
best
school.
part about it.
You
Yeah,
know?
that's the best part
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Even if it was a business move, an artist gets to tell their story, and it's cool because like there was one of them too where it's like a very personal story that had to do with his grandma's house, and it's a VR experience where technically, I mean, I don't know, I didn't get to watch in VR, but they built it so it's a time lapse happening around you of going in reverse of his grandma and grandpa's life in the house. Like it would like rebuild, and it's happening
Oh,
around
wow.
you just so you can enjoy like every like section of the room and stuff like that. And it's
So
pretty
how
cool.
does that work? If you wanted to view it in VR, would you go to their website
I
and
don't
watch
know.
it on there?
I don't know. I was gonna.
That's
This is something I was gonna talk to you about off of camera. Like, John, you got to see how this works because I don't have a VR machine. But yeah, I think it was a great idea. Like, because I know that's the new way we have to go with telling a story through VR, and I think doing it that way
I don't
is like a
know.
fun way of doing it. I mean, it's gonna happen, right? So there has to be a way of
I-
to be able to tell a story.
I mean,
that
you
way.
can do so. We've had 360 video for a long time, right? And you've always been able to render multiple views. Like you can play games in VR, but wearing a mask, or a head-mounted display is quite a burden. But the biggest thing too is like kind of cinematography kind of goes out the window when you can look anywhere. Like this one at a school I was working at, they did this really cool kind of VR experience where it was video based, but then they composited it in CG elements. And there was these two guys battling to death right over here. Like the idea was you were strapped to a chair and you couldn't move, so all you could do was look around, and you're strapped to a chair. Because you can't really move around because since the live action, you're not going to be able to move around and get the parallax and everything. And these guys are battling to the death over here in the forefront where you're supposed to be looking. And I was looking over here at a board that had fallen over, and I just saw a black widow just crawling at me. And I just watched that loop of that black widow over and over, and barely even noticing what was going on in this fight. So the downside is cinematography, where you're guiding the eye. It's like up to the viewer to find where you're supposed to be looking. Like if something happens over here, like maybe there's a sound, you're trusting that they're going to pick up, they need to look over there or they might miss this thing. So it's a hard thing to guide them when you're not really just forcing it on them. But that being said, it can be a cool experience.
I guess you're right.
As
It
well.
would have to be like action to always catch the eye, or something that always has to like capture the full attention all the time. It would be very tough. It would be very tough.
But it's cool that they're testing the waters for that. Cool. It's very cool that they're testing the waters for that with that. I'm very
Heck yeah.
curious how you would view that too. That's really cool.
So yeah, we do other videos. We did a great one on Klaus where we talk about how 2D animation's coming back, which I think you guys should totally check out. We have other types of videos too with visual effects and other fun stuff. If you go to asart.space, you'll find all of our links. Our podcast is on Spotify and iTunes. Check them out. They're a lot of fun.
And some really cool stuff just dropping very recently on music. So AsArt's about all type of artistic stuff. So we had Mr. Brett, and he was in there and we were talking about
Papa
the best
Stash.
rock movies. Papa Stash. We were talking about the best rock movies, best movie scores. So that's the funnest thing, you guys, is whatever you comment you'd like to see on this channel, art is all around us and the media that we do and everything like that. So we can cover it. So whatever you want to see, let us know, because we're probably excited to see it as well. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next AsArt.